Right, greetings. Have you heard of natural language processing before? Have you heard of text mining? Have you heard of sentiment analysis? One of the growing areas under the large language model. So, quite a number. Some people call it text mining, some call it sentiment analysis, some call it natural language processing, and you can give it. But they all are talking about one thing: emotions. I mean, how do we get people emotions from a text? Or how do we go into a whole text and then analyze the kind of emotions, the kind of reactions, the kind of reviews that people have put in that particular text? Yeah, so our emotions can be passed onto our hands and then onto ink. So first of all, we learn how to able to get our text or to mine text, and after that we check what that particular text is saying. So let me show you a bit of what I'm talking about. And so let me choose an outlay. Maybe this just looks fine for me. So let's get here, get to this place, and then it looks like my font size is quite small today. Okay, so I'm going to increase my font size. If you are joining me for the first time, my name is Libat, right? And I do bioinformatics, and then I also do data science, basics of data science. So I'm just going to increase the font size a bit. Yeah, this is just quite okay. Right. So as you can see, I've been working on this part of it. So I'm actually looking at packages. So let me get to this part. And then there's this portion, or there's a so it's under natural language processing, or what we people call it the large language model. You can just call it whatever. So what does it do? It allows you to go into a text, then pick up that particular what is it, the entire text, and then you are able to mine the information, or you are able to summarize whatever information that is embedded in the form of emotions. And that's what we are going to do. Now, to be able to do this, you need this particular package called, is it Suzette, Suzette package. And of course, you also need the core NLP. That's the core natural language processing. These are lexicons. They are like dictionaries that have been developed by people. And so they are like packages which people have developed with different functions which are there. So I have already installed them. So I'm simply just going to library them. So I'll run this line, run the next line, and then I would have loaded them into my R environment. How does it work? First of all, if you have any package like this, if you're joining me for the first time, what you need to do is put a question mark like this, and then you simply just put the package by it and then run it. So you see that all the information that you need is here. And if I fold this up, so you can see the description of the package. The CZ package is actually, if I could read, operates over a vector of strings and returns the sentiment value based on oversupply method. And so you can read a lot of it if you have it. And the installation process, you don't need additional, it's a CRAN package. So you can simply just go to your packages, then you go to install. It's a little bit, my R is a little bit slow. So you see that we are on current repository. So you simply just come here, and I have my Suzette. Okay. And so you can see it is here. If I put it there, installed, I'm going to install it. The same way with the, if I come here and I have the core NLP. Now, after you have installed it, mostly when you run it, just like we were having it, let me go back to the file and see whether if the information is still loaded. What my arrow is crazily slow. I do not know why. I don't know what the problem is. And so maybe as we run this portion again, and they're telling me that there's no documentary, I could add another one like this and then run it and see. There should be documentation on that. Yeah, so are mostly, oh my God, the arrow is too slow. It's too slow for my liking. Okay. Yeah, so we could actually come here, click any of this, and then we have further information about the package. But so what does the package do? The package runs on the fact that this is a text I have here. This is a whole package that or this is a text I have here. I've just written this particular text momentarily. And then I'm going to package that particular text into this particular variable I call example. So if I run it, you see that I have packed it into it. So the next time, if I want to print it, you can see the text is printed down here. But for now, it's just a text. So what is it? I said this is my first time of using this package, but I am already enjoying it. And so in that order. So I've written it, it ends with a full stop. And then this is another text I have also done here. This actually is something I wrote on Facebook, and I want to use it to do whatever that I want. So the same text, put a quotation mark, and then you put the text in the water between the quotation marks. So this color is going to have green, and then you package it, you run it into example two. And so if I print it, you can see the text is here, and you can see that wherever you see the forward slash or the backward slash, it means that is the end of a line. Is the end of a line. And that's what it uses, the package Suzette uses to be able to know whether this is the end of a sentence or, and so that it will go into that particular sentence and assess it for you. Now, after we have done that, it's just a text, ordinary text. There's nothing in it. So we have to now use some of the functions, and I've already taught how to be able to get the functions, how to run a package and get all the functions which are there. So what do we do now? We go ahead and then see whether we can get the sentences which are here. So the next thing is to make sure you run so let's say I have this variable here, which is example two. So all of this text you see here, which have been highlighted, have been packed into example two. And so let me clear my console. And so now I want to make sure that I pick each particular sentence one after the other. And so to do that, you use the function called get sentence. And then we put the variable there and run it. And then that is all. So now if I print the get sentence, so it will simply now put the text into a form of sentences. So you can see that the text is now in the form of a sentence and then in the form of a sentence. And so that's how it understands it. It is going to understand it. So now let me continue. After we have we use the function called get sentence into it. So we now have this particular variable that contains all the sentences. We can actually use the ordinary inbuilt class function and see that they are characters. We could look at the structure. It comes in the form of what? A vector. And so you can see that about 1 to 14 lines. About 1 to 14 lines. And so you would think you are doing well. So that's what the first line is saying. And then that's what, so if we do a head, I think, oh no, I'm running a different thing here, a different variable here. So let me rather put this sentence underscore analysis. So let me come here, sentence underscore analysis. And then I have sentence underscore analysis too as well here. So if I run this, the class is going to tell me it's a character. If I look at the structure, the same thing I'm going to have here, about 1 to 14. And then, of course, if I look at the head, so this is what I'm going to get. It gives me all that I'm supposed to get. Now, when you use the function get sentence, it means you are picking sentences from the text that you want to analyze, from the text that you are mining. So you are mining sentences. You are picking sentences out of the whole text. Now, if you want to get word for word, then you use the function called get tokens. And so here, I am going to, the whole of the text you see on top here, I am going to pack it. So if I say get tokens, it means I am mining word for word. I'm not mining sentences this time around. And so I'm going to run that, and you can see. So if I print this, you see that it's going to be word for word. It has picked each of the word, and then you can see that it has put all the words this way. And so in that case, I have mined words, not sentences. So that's what happens. So now after we have done that, they are only sentences and then the words we have mined. But what sense can we get from it? So we can say get sentiment. Get sentiment. So what sentiment is found in the sentences? What sentiments are found in the words? So, like I said, these are inbuilt lexicons that comes with emotions. And so we have picked our text, we have decided to get the sentences, each of the sentences, and we are now going to use the function called get sentiment. The sentiment function will go and check each sentence or each word, depending on which of the variables we are using, and then assess it, and then it will return a value. And so I'm going to run this particular line 997, and that is get sentiment of what is this particular variable called sentence analysis. The sentence analysis contains the sentences that we have extracted from from the entire text file, and the method we are using is the Suzette. That's the default settings. And so we could also use Bing, we could use Affin, we could use NRC. And I'll be doing these videos in about 4 different folds. And so we have gotten our sentiment. And so now if I print the sentiment out of the sentences, you can see each of the sentence has been given a value, 0.18, 0.00, and then there's a negative 1 here. So what these values stand here means that any number that is positive, it tells you that that is the kind of sentiment that was given to the statement. So it was a positive statement, or it was a positive, let me say, emotions that was attached to a particular sentence. So here, the first value takes the first sentence. This one here, it means it's undecided. You don't know whether it was a negative statement or it was a positive statement. Okay? Or it was whatever statement. So in this case, what we are analyzing here, the sentiment we are analyzing here, it analyzes the entire text in 3 folds. Whether it is a negative sentiment, it is a positive sentiment, or it's a neutral statement. So when you see a positive value, it means it was a positive sentiment. If you see negative, negative. And if you see 0, 0, it means it was a neutral, undecided. Okay? So that's what we have done for in the case of the sentences. What about if we wanted to do it in the case of the words? So we simply just also run that one. Remember this, what we have here. Okay, I could just come here and then I'll add the method to it. And the method here, I'm using the same default, which is the Suzette. And so if I run that again, it's the same thing. Remember, we move from the text, we simply put our text into a variable, then we simply now then we go into that particular variable and mine either sentences or words, depending on what we want. Now, so we mine sentences here. That's why I say sentiment and sent. That's sentences. Sentiment and word. And so now when we are getting the sentiment, we are getting the sentiment from the words here. And that's it. And so here, if I print the sentiment here, you see that we're going to have all these values. So for each of the words that were used there, you can see that the first word, it was 0.00. You could not decide. But this particular word here, it was actually a negative word. And the word was used negatively. Or the sentiment we can get from that word was negative. Now, for the first one, we were looking at the entire sentence. You look at the entire sentence and see what sentiment you can get from it. This is sentiment analysis, and this is how it proceeds. I want you to get the basics right. And so I'm using the default here. There are other methods that we can use. People have written different algorithms as to how to be able to get the sentiment. So one is Bing, one is Affin, and then one is NRC. And so that's how it is. I've already run these lines, so we run this. And then when we print each of them, we can see the kind of values which are attached to it. So in some cases, you have 0, 1, and negative. So for here, if we print the variable, we're going to have practically the same kind of rating. And so because we have different, so what we normally can do is we can combine all of them. We can combine all of them. So I decided to combine all of them using rbind, and then I have my results here. The results will not give me this. So to tell me the entire sentiment that I am getting from it. And so here I can look at the sentiment here, and then the other sentiment, and then the other sentiment, and then in that order. So basically, this is how sentiment analysis or text mining or natural language processing proceeds. This is just the basics. I'm going to go the next portion, just so you can see, is I decided to pick this data from File, the one I was doing earlier. Then I picked the remarks that people were passing, all those who visited the hackathon, the remarks they were all passing, and then to assess whether they were what kind of emotions that were embedded in those remarks. And you see, so I decided to run this, and so if I print the remarks from the File's hackathon, you can see all the sentiment people gave. Sorry, the remarks people gave. But these remarks were they? What kind of remarks were they? You see, some said it was nice, more oily. Others say not sweet, and then in that order. So we can go ahead and then perform some sentiment analysis on it. And so what we do is we run it the same way, like I was saying. We get our sentiment from each of them. So in this case, if I come here and then I run, and I want to get the actual sentiment, so what it's trying to build. So you can see what is it, the sentiment that we are having. We are having negative, we are having this. So we could actually go and then pull all this together to have an average sentiment. We can have the mean sentiment, that's the same thing as average though. Then we can have the entire sentiment and what it means. And then that's what we are trying to do here. We could actually go ahead and then plot and have a pictorial view of how the sentiment works. I'm going to do the next video and I will tell you how all these numbers are converted into emotions, whether it was anger, it was trust, it was suspicious, it was whatsoever. And then we'll begin to take it out from there. And this is how sentiment analysis is being done. It's done in different ways. I can use this to be able to review your product, what people are saying about your company, about your product that you are chilling out in the market, or whatever that you are doing, about institutions like KNUST. Then I would also be doing another video to show you how these are inbuilt text. But how do we get the actual text from, let's say, from Twitter, from Facebook, from the media houses we have around, and then we come and do the analysis. But we need to know how to be able to get the text into our environment. How do we get sentence, whether we are mining sentences or we are mining text. And then when we mine our sentences, we can go ahead and then get the sentiment from it. Or we can even go ahead and try to see the emotions which are attached to it. And then we can go ahead and plot our graph, and then we can have a conclusion. This is the first part of the video. The second part, I will try my possible best. And then, so this is the file something. So if I had run this, this is what I'll be doing the next time. So this time around, I am getting the emotions. I'm trying to get, all you are seeing here are figures. But what about if you wanted emotions? You see? Let's see if we can get the emotions out of it. And then that will be the last part of this video. So it's building. As you can see, this red thing down there, it tells you that it is building. So it is building the emotions one after the other, small. And when it finished, then the emotions will be printed out for us to see. Well, as you can see, the stop is still there, so it means it is not finished. So now the emotions have been finished. So you can see that it has rated all of them: anger, anticipation, disgust, fear, joy, sadness, surprise, trust, negative, positive, then in that order. So these are the emotions from all the sentiment that people gave to the Fire hackathon. So we mine the text first. We can either mine words, we can mine sentences, then we get our sentiment from it, then we can get our emotion from it. Then I can begin to now, sum all the emotions. I can get the total emotions. I can get the whatever analysis I want to do. But you can see here, you can see 1, you can see 0, 1 and 0, 1 and 0. I haven't seen negative yet, and then in that order. So if you see 0 means there was no anger. 1 means there was anger. If you see anticipation 0, it means there was no anticipation. 1 means there was anticipation. disgust. 0 means there was zero disgust. 1 means there was a disgust. Then in that order. So this is how it works. Let me run it. Let me show you the last part. And then we'll part company. So what I said in essence is that we use the Suzette package to be able to do sentiment analysis. First of all, we get our text and then we assign our text into a variable. Then after that, this first one, this second one, after that, we go into the text and mine. Mine is like the way we go to mine for gold, mine for timber, mine for manganese or whatsoever. We go there and mine, but when we're going to mine, what are we mining? Are we mining sentences or we are mining words? If we want to mine sentences, it means we want to pick sentences from the entire text. So we do what? Get sentence, and then we put the variable there. Then we pack it into this new variable here. And then after that, if we also wanted to mine words, then we would have said get token. Then we mine words individually. After that, we can decide to get the sentiment from each sentence or the sentiment from each word. And then so we say get sentiment. Then this was a variable that contained the sentences. This was a variable that contains the words. And so in that case, we simply can get the sentiment from the sentences. We can also get the sentiment from the words if we want it, using the method Suzette, which is the default method. And after we have gotten that, then it's now left onto us to either do our averages. We can find our average sentiment. We can find our total sentiment. We can find, and then we can make our own conclusion from it. This is how it works. Thank you. And before I leave, I always say that please try your possible best and then subscribe to my YouTube channel and then help me. By doing that, you are helping me to be able to allow the channel to grow. Thank you. I'll see you.